Hi guys, so today I'm in the North Sperrin Mountains and I've come to a location that I've come to quite a few times over the winter, and I've been able to scout three little waterfalls, each one different, each one unique, and each one just pretty much gorgeous for something that's only a couple of miles away from where I live. I haven't been able to get a good photograph, and the reason being I always seem to come here late autumn, early winter. The light's not good, the trees have lost their leaves, and the only good thing going for it is that there's plenty of flow in the waterfalls. So I've come here today to try and get all three. We had some serious rain a couple of nights ago, so I'm happy that we've still got a good flow in the waterfalls. We've got good light insofar as we have light, as opposed to what I was getting in the winter. But I think I'm about a month early for leaves on the trees. So I am going to see what I get here today, and I'm going to have to come back again. I've got an idea in my head for a triptych. For those who don't know what a triptych is, I'll put a little description. I've only ever shot one before, and it was an action triptych of one of the kids who plays for the local GAA club. Got them in quick succession and put them into one photograph. Boom, boom, boom. Shows a nice story. This one's going to be slightly different insofar as there's no story here. All it is I suppose there is a story. It's a story of the landscape that we have here in Banagher. But the thing I don't like about triptychs is invariably the images that you slot in. The overall image is landscape, but the images that you slot in are portrait, just so they fit. And I'm not a big fan of landscape photography in portrait mode. I like to see those big vistas. Now, because this is not a big vista, the more intimate landscape, we might get away with it. But for the most part, I'm going to be shooting in portrait today. I will still shoot a few landscape just for my own satisfaction, my own personal images. But for the basis of what I'm trying to achieve, most of what I'm going to do is going to be in portrait mode. So let's get started. Oh, a couple of sheep over here. I think they're trapped. They won't go away. I've tried to move them on. I hate sheep. Spiders and sheep. Hate them both. Sheep because I'm not overly convinced that they're 100% vegetarian. And I grew up in an area where Hammer horror films were the norm, and there's always a goat or a sheep or something in it, and so jury's out. And unfortunately there's one lying dead literally 20 feet from me, but it's obviously fallen off the incline here. C'est la vie, circle of life. Let's get started. Compositionally, we've hit a few snags. What I've got here is that I've got these two little waterfalls, one directly in front of me, one just coming off to the right, and then just above that is a little plateau, just a little flat space, and then two little waterfalls behind that again, and then just little cascades behind that. And ideally, I would like to have the tripod in the water here, but when I do, I don't get that little flat bit between the two waterfalls. It just gives it that little bit of separation, and I don't like that composition. I think it's stronger with this little bit of separation in it, or you just get the waterfalls just running into each other, and you just can't see that they are two distinct parts of the image. That's working. There's a lot of glare. Whenever that sun comes out, it's really, really harsh. So I'm just going to pop a little polarizing filter on here. Try and cut out some of that glare on the water. Try and bring out some of these greens, some of this nice brown, orange moss. Just trying to bring that out, and the polarizing filter will do that for me. So we'll give that a go, and then we'll see how that goes. And I'm just rotating it now, just to see the difference. I have to say, what the polarizer is doing to all this green is just fantastic. It's really making it pop. There's my sun. Next shot. I'm just going to pop a 6-stop filter on here. 10 stops going to be way too hard, way too much for the scene here today. 6-stop is just going to take some of that water, smooth it out. I'll be honest with you, at this stage I'm going to see what the 6-stop produces, if I like what it does to the water, because what the polarizer load's going to give me about a stop, maybe a stop and a half. There's not enough energy in the water. And a 10-stop would just turn it to marshmallow. So I'll give the 6-stop a go. And then we might be able to take this photograph that I've just taken and then blend in some of that energy from the image that's got the 6-stop filter on. No one said it was an exact science. Overall, that took the exposure time down to about 1.2, 1.3 seconds. And that's given me enough movement in the water. Whether or not I'll use this image or blend the water with one of the previous images where I had just the polarizing filter on. And overall, that means we could be looking at a blend of 3 different images here. One for the sky, one for the correct exposure for the foreground itself, and then blend in a little bit of one for the, sorry, my voice, I've had a really sore throat, and I'm only recovering from it. So as I said, one for the sky, one for the correct exposure for the waterfall itself, and then we'll bring in little elements of the longer exposure, and try and just put a little bit of dynamism. So as I said, one for the sky, one for the correct exposure of the waterfall, and then the longer exposure for a little bit of that dynamism, for a little bit of that dynamism, a little bit of energy of the waterfall. And I hear a lot of guys talking about, oh, get it right in camera. I like to be spending all my time taking photographs, not sitting in front of the computer. Load of tosh. I use a program called Raya Pro. It's by a guy called Jimmy McIntyre. I'll put a link down here for him. Phenomenal photographer who, through his work, through his add-ons and plugins for Photoshop, gives quite a bit back to the photographic community, in my opinion. But he's got this program called Raya Pro, and what I do is, once I've got the 2 exposures that I want to blend, I bring them up in Photoshop, and I simply click a button on Raya Pro, and it'll blend the darker exposure into the lighter exposure, and I would say it does it quicker than most guys can actually fit a filter system and get it all lined up. So this idea that you spend hours and hours and hours blending photographs in computers is just absolute nonsense. To me, it takes as much time to do either. But we're happy at this stage. I'm going to get a cup of coffee, dilly, and we'll move on to location number 2.